What is up, everybody? Welcome to season 2 of Nostalgia Talks. I'm your host, Natalie. You guys, I'm so excited for this season. I'm just so excited to have people on the podcast and to talk about new things with you guys and to actually have conversations with people instead of just talking by myself, because I feel like that's a lot more fluid. And I'm just really excited for what's to come. I have a lot of episodes recorded already that I just need to get out to you guys. So I'm super excited. I hope you guys are excited. And I hope you love the sound quality, because the sound quality is a lot better and it makes me so happy. So I hope it's satisfying for you guys to hear the difference between this and episodes prior. But anyways, in today's episode, I'm going to talk about movies and musical projects that I have been loving recently. I don't know why I had trouble saying that. But I mentioned this in the sneak peek episode at the end of it, I think, that I want this episode to basically go back to the roots of why I created this podcast, which was mainly to talk about movies and music, because that's what I love the most. So I'm going back to the roots. I'm going back to my roots, and I'm just going to talk about movies that I've seen so far in 2024. Some of them really great, some of them not so great. I'm going to try to go in the order that I've seen these movies in, but I don't know if it's the exact order. It very well could not be, but whatever. That's not really all that important. And also, I noticed last time, thank you to my parents for letting me know, that in the last episode where I talked about like my top 5 favorites of different categories, I wasn't being very descriptive of what the movies and the books and stuff were about, which I should have been. So I'm going to get better at that, and I feel like this time around I organized my thoughts and everything a lot better. And throughout this whole thing, I'm not going to give you any spoilers of the movie, at least I hope not. So I'm just going to tell you what I thought of the movie, how it made me feel, but I'm going to try to not give any spoilers because that would suck. I don't think anybody really likes spoilers all that much. So let's just get started. So we have the first movie of the year that I watched. Again, I actually don't know if this was the first movie. It probably was, though. But it was Anyone But You. The one with Sydney Sweeney and Glenn Powell. That's his name, right? Glenn Powell? I think so. So this movie is about two people who go on a date. Things don't go so well. There are mixed signals. So they basically end it after, I think, like one night. And I think it's the sister of the girl who is getting married to the guy's friend. So the main girl, her sister is getting married to the main guy's best friend. I think. I could be very wrong. I didn't fact check this. Probably should have. But whatever. So they end up being together on this trip to Australia for the wedding. And they end up faking a relationship because both of their exes are also on the trip. And so while they're faking a relationship, they end up falling in love. Very classic rom-com sort of plot, right? Yeah. So I rated this movie a 2 out of 5. I rated this movie a 2 out of 5 on Letterboxd. If you want to follow me on Letterboxd, it's N for Nostalgia. Just, if you're curious. I honestly did not like this movie very much. Sorry to say. I know a lot of you really liked it. A lot of you actually really enjoyed it. And good for you. I wish I could have. But unfortunately, I did not. I did, however, love the amount of Dominic Fike songs thrown in. And, I just love that because I love Dominic Fike. You guys know I love Dominic Fike. But all of those songs were thrown into, like, the beginning of the movie. And so after, like, the first 20 minutes ish, it just starts going downhill for me. So I know, I get that it was a rom-com, and I actually love rom-coms, but I feel like this was just way too cliche and stupid, which I get it. That's the point of rom-coms, but this one I feel like just didn't execute it well for me. But, that's just me. And I just didn't like the script. I hated the way the storyline was executed. And, I love Sydney Sweeney, but she just made me cringe a little too much in this. I don't know what it was. I wasn't a big fan. I think the characters just weren't very likable to me. I don't know. Tell me your guys' thoughts on it, because I know a lot of you liked it, and I wish I could have liked it the way that you guys did, but I just didn't. I don't know. Alright, next one we have is the Mean Girls remake. This is the same Mean Girls you know and love, except it's also not. This Mean Girls is based on the Broadway musical of Mean Girls that was still also written by Tina Fey, and it's actually pretty good. I saw the Broadway show in LA at the Pantages with my mom, and we actually really, really enjoyed it. I think it was awesome. It was funny, and the songs were enjoyable, and I love Broadway, and I want to go to more Broadway shows, so hit me up if you want to go watch a Broadway show. Anyways, I rated this movie a 3 out of 5 on Letterboxd. I just want to be blatantly clear. It's definitely not the best movie ever, but it's super fun, and it has some really great funny moments. The beginning is a tiny bit slow, but it definitely picks up, and I think that you will have a great time watching this movie. Not too much to say there, but it is really, really fun. I think you should definitely watch it if you haven't. Next one is Dune Part 2. I wish I could tell you in detail what this movie is about, but I cannot. I can't. But I do know that the main theme is basically the struggle that Paul Atreides faces between power and love. Mistake me if I'm wrong, but I think that was like the main takeaway for me. I rated this movie a 4 out of 5. Isn't that so funny? I can't even tell you what it was really about in detail, but I rated it a 4 out of 5 on Letterboxd. This one is definitely better than the first one. The first one made me want to fall asleep, and I didn't want to do that this time around, so that's a plus. And the plot is a lot better. Also, an incredible cast. You have Austin Butler, Florence Pugh, Zendaya, Javier Bardem, and so many other big names. Stacked cast. And if you were disappointed about how little Zendaya shows up in the first movie because of how much they promoted her in the trailer, she shows up for a lot more than 5 minutes this time around. So that is also another plus, and I think you would be very pleased. I would actually really like to rewatch this. I don't think I would rewatch the first one, but I do actually want to rewatch the second one, and I think that says something. Next one we have, oh my god, it's Madam Web. So this movie is about a paramedic who basically has visions of events happening before they actually happen, and she somehow ends up being connected to 3 teenage girls who also have powers. I give this movie a 1.5 out of 5, and honestly, I probably should have given it lower. I think this is the worst Marvel script that I have ever seen. Yeah. I don't know. I get that the main character is Cassandra, but the movie is about more than just her, so I'm kind of confused on why most character development, if not all, is just focused on her, not very much on the girls. I was kind of confused about that. Also, somehow, oddly enough, there's not a lot going on in this movie, considering it's an action film, and I have some issues with that. Also, as I mentioned in the little description, the teenage girls have powers, except you don't get to see how they get their powers in this movie, which is definitely something that should have happened. Also, another thing, the editing and special effects were awful and very jarring to the eye. It just made it very hard to follow everything that was happening on screen for me. I don't know if you guys felt the same way. If you've seen this movie, did you feel the same way, or was it just me? I don't know. However, All of that being said, I hope there will be another movie and that it's a lot better. I honestly do want to see more of those girls. I want to know more about their story because I know nothing. Are there comic books about them? I'm sure there are. I just haven't seen them and I haven't read them. But I want to know more about them. Oh, also, another thing before I move on and forget. The villain's voice in this movie was throwing me off so bad. It seemed like it was just dubbed over every single scene that he's in. But it's just, like, the voice did not fit his body and his image. I don't know. I feel like that was definitely not just a me thing. So let me know. Next one. A lot better than Madam Web. We have Monkey Man. Monkey Man is essentially about a young boy whose mom is killed by the corrupt leaders of his home. And when he's older, he finds a way to get in close proximity to the people who killed his mother and avenge her death. I actually really, really, really enjoyed this movie. I rated it a 4 out of 5. I saw it 2 times. That's saying something. I was willing to see a movie 2 times in theaters. Obviously, I rewatch movies often, but I don't always watch it a second time in theaters. So that says something. So yeah, I rated it a 4 out of 5. I feel like maybe I should have rated it a 4.5, but whatever. I would just like to say every movie Dev Patel is in, I love. I think he's such an incredible actor. He's so awesome. Not to mention, in this movie specifically, he was the main character. He wrote the story. He produced the movie. He directed it. That's just so insane to me. And correct me if I'm wrong, but he did all of his stunts, if not most of them. And I know that he did break his hand at some point. I think during the first fight scene that they had shot. I don't think it's the first fight scene that you see in the movie, but it was the first one that they shot. I don't know. The more I learn about what it took to make this movie, the more I love it. Because they had a lot of struggles. If you haven't watched interviews or read articles about this movie, you definitely should. Because I don't know, it's just so interesting. Also, the action scenes are freaking awesome. And there are so many of them, which I love. Because it is like an action-packed film. Oh my god. They were executed so well. And I love the story, actually. I think it has a great plot. I just think it's so great. I think everyone should watch it. I mean, there's Dev Patel. There's a lot of action. There's comedy. There's Dev Patel shirtless. What more could you possibly want? Next movie we have is Immaculate. Okay, yeah. I definitely didn't put these in order. But whatever. We have Immaculate. This movie is about a woman named Cecilia who joins a Catholic convent in Italy. And although she has never had sexual relations with a man, she ends up pregnant and begins to be compared to the Virgin Mary, obviously. And she finds out that the father of the convent impregnated her with the DNA taken off of the holy nail relic that they have in their church, hoping to bring a new Messiah. Isn't that so wild? That sounds so crazy to me. Anyways, I rated this a 3.5 out of 5. It has a pretty crazy plot, I will admit, and I enjoyed watching it unfold. However, I feel like this, for a horror movie, is nothing crazy impressive. And it's not too much of a horror movie, really. Maybe like a thriller? I don't know. It just wasn't scary, you know? I do like the twisted ending, though. Low-key wanted to see the baby, you know, what it looked like. But I also didn't. Like, I'm okay with not seeing it. But also, I kind of wanted to. I don't know. Anyways, I did really like seeing Sydney Sweeney in a different role like this. It's definitely a drastic difference and a different sort of challenge from what she's previously been in. I feel like doing horror movies, especially being a main character in a horror movie, I feel like that's a big challenge. I feel like it's a different sort of challenge than other kinds of roles. And I think she did a great job. Next one we have is The First Omen. So this is, honestly, okay, The First Omen. I know that this is a remake of the original, I believe. which I've never seen, so I just watched this recent one. This storyline confused me a little bit. So if this description of it is wrong or confusing, I apologize greatly. But my description that I wrote down is Margaret is invited to a convent in Rome and ends up building a connection with a girl named Carlita. It is revealed that the plan for Carlita is to impregnate her with the Antichrist in order to scare people and lead them back to the church. Margaret ends up being the one who gets impregnated instead and gives birth to twins. The son is taken with the intention of being the Antichrist, and Margaret takes her daughter and Carlita with her to live a secluded life. I hope that's right. I don't know. I rated this a 3.5 out of 5, the same as Immaculate. I actually watched this the same day that I saw Immaculate, just later in the day. So while they're different, it was also kind of like I was watching the same movies, to be honest. And maybe that's just because I watched it the same day. Or maybe it's because they are genuinely a little similar. Actually, not even a little. A lot similar, actually. And it's not the best horror movie, but I think it's also worth a watch. The cinematography was pretty good, actually. It was really good. It was actually really good. So I think it's worth a watch. Next, we have Challengers. This is basically just about 3 horny tennis players. No, I'm just kidding. Sort of. There are 3 tennis players. The girl, Tashi, is very talented and has a very promising future as a pro tennis player. And then we have Patrick and Art, who are best friends, who play as a tennis duo. And, of course, they both happen to be obsessed with Tashi. Who wouldn't be obsessed with Zendaya? Anyways, they both end up having their own separate relationships with Tashi, and Art even ends up marrying her. But there's just a lot of complications in between everything, and it makes for a very crazy movie. I rated this a 3.5 out of 5, but honestly, thinking back on it now, I think I maybe should have given it a little bit higher. I want to rewatch this movie so bad. I have like this craving to watch it again. I don't know why. And I want to see it in theaters. I don't know what it is. Maybe I shouldn't be wanting to see it again this bad, but I do. And I know I'm not the only one because I've been seeing everybody go rewatch it. So I know I'm not the only one. I don't know. It was just really captivating for me for some reason. Maybe it was the actors. The actors are so good. Obviously Zendaya. Zendaya is amazing. And I want to see more of those men more often. I want to see them in more movies. I don't think this was like their first role. Definitely not. But I want to see more of them. Also, I'm so sorry, but I will never be a Patrick defender. Never, ever, ever. I've been seeing some people defend him on social media, and I'm like, guys, what are we doing? Why are you defending this man? However, the locker room scene, the locker room scene was very rough, and I would understand if you defend him in that situation. Otherwise, no. Also, I was not satisfied with the ending. I would have preferred another hour of the movie, to be honest, over that ending. I would have watched another hour. I really would have. What the heck was that? I wanted to see all of them get in an argument or something. I don't know. This movie had no true substance, but it was so enjoyable. Also, the music was just too loud at sometimes. So I think maybe that's why I give it a 3.5. Because, again, not any real substance, and the music was really, really loud at some points. It did not need to be that loud. But for some reason, I just really loved it. So, next movie we have is The Idea of You. It's just a movie about a 40-year-old mom who begins having a relationship with a 24-year-old singer of a boy band. I have seen that this was another movie based on a fanfic about Harry Styles, which is just crazy. Why are there so many movies about this at this point? Anyways, I rated this a 3 out of 5. Definitely not the best movie ever by any means. You can definitely tell that it's a fanfic turned into a movie. But listen, I grew up on Wattpad, so I'll definitely like and enjoy movies like this to some degree. So again, not the best movie ever by any means, but it's a great movie to watch if you're bored and at home and maybe have a day off of work. I don't know. I will probably rewatch this movie because the chemistry between Nicholas and Anne Hathaway is actually really good. like, how did they get such good actors to be in this movie? That's my actual question. Anyways, definitely watch it. Just go into it knowing that it's not the best movie ever, and it will make you cringe. Next movie we have is The Fall Guy. This is actually the last movie, and this is the most recent movie that I've seen. So we have Ryan Gosling and Emma. Goodness gracious. I'm not talking about La La Land. We have Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt. So Ryan Gosling plays a stuntman who is in love with Emily Blunt's character, who is an aspiring director. When Blunt's character gets her big break as a director, her lead actor has gone missing, and Gosling's character is sent out to find him, which it gets very messy. I rated this a 4 out of 5. Crazy. This movie has no real substance, again, but I actually really love that about it. Pat loves Ryan Gosling, so that's why we went to go watch it. I don't know if I would have watched this in theaters on my own. I probably definitely would have watched it at home, like once they put it on Netflix or something. But Pat loves Ryan Gosling, and Pat is my best friend, by the way. I would definitely go watch any movie that he would want to watch, so it's, But I'm glad that we watched it. It did not disappoint. It was a very funny movie, and I loved the murder mystery vibe it had going on too. This movie's so enjoyable. I think you should definitely go watch it. If you can go watch it in theaters, go do that. I actually really, really enjoyed it. All right, that was the last movie that I have seen so far, as of when I'm recording this. So now I will be talking about albums and EPs that I have been loving so far this year. And since the last time I have talked to you, these are not all of the artists that I've been listening to recently. There are definitely a lot more. But I just wanted to talk about the longer projects, just because I feel like if you're going to go listen to somebody that I recommend you, I think it'd be cool to listen to longer pieces of their work rather than just a single. You know what I mean? All right, let's get into it. So first on the list, we have Sweet Boy by Malcolm Todd. That is an album. There are so many good songs off of that album. Next, we have Where Are You Going, which is an EP by Bennett Coast. Also, a lot of good songs on there, and I saw him live, and he was just so good. I wish I would have seen Malcolm Todd, but I didn't get tickets. And do I regret it? Yeah, a little bit. Next on the list, we have Two Star and the Dream Police by McGee. If you guys are going to listen to anything off of this list, please let it be Two Star and the Dream Police. It is one of the best bodies of work ever created. McGee is just a musical genius. I'm not kidding. Please go listen to that. Then we have Snow Angel by Renee Rapp. Renee Rapp is really getting her flowers. She is getting the recognition that she deserves, and I am so here for it. I love her. She has such a great voice. She makes great music, and she worked on this whole thing with Alexander 23. He is such a great music producer, and the whole thing is just awesome. So good. And she is so freaking funny. I love her. If you don't love her, I think you need to reevaluate. Next on the list, we have Handle with Care, which is an EP by Lindsay Lomas. If you don't know who Lindsay Lomas is, go look her up right now. She does the most insane riffs and runs you will ever hear in your entire life. Her voice is like silk. It really is. And she's been on tour with Jacob Collier for the past couple of months. And I'm just so happy for her. I'm so happy that she's getting more recognition. She is insane. I've seen her live. Her voice is so good. Next on the list, we have Older by Lizzie McAlpine. I just saw her perform this album live. So good, you guys. I was honestly a little iffy off the first listen or two of this album, but it's actually really good. I think after seeing it live, I understood. And I was like, you know what? This is actually really freaking beautiful. And the band that performed on this album is so freaking good. And I think you guys should go listen to it. It'll put you in your feels, but in a good way. I think you all need that sometimes. I definitely do. So, Next on the list is Eternal Sunshine by Ariana Grande. I was so excited about this album. I was a little worried because after hearing Yes and, I was a little worried. I was like, oh, what direction is she taking this new album in? What direction is she taking her new music in? I was a little worried, not gonna lie. But Eternal Sunshine is actually really, really good. I actually really like that album. There are a lot of good songs on there. Ariana Grande can just not disappoint. Oh, except for the Yes and remix with Mariah Carey, that did disappoint. If you ever listen to it, or if you have listened to it, you know exactly what I mean. Next on the list, we have Ebb and Flow, which is an EP by Orange Space. Orange Space is incredible. Like, his music leaves me speechless. It's actually so good. He's like a mix of Frank Ocean, Omar Apollo, and Dijon, which, I mean, what more could you possibly want? He's so good, and this whole EP is incredible. Next on the list, we have Garage Sale, which is an EP by Between Friends. Between Friends makes some of the most fun music that I listen to. They're awesome. Go listen. Next, we have Guts by Olivia Rodrigo. I think you've all heard this album at one point or another, and if you say you haven't, you're probably lying. There are so many good songs on this. The deluxe is incredible. So American, I love every single song on that album. Next, we have Mika's Laundry by Matt Champion. Oh my god, I think he worked on the entire thing, if not at least most of it, with Dijon, which I'm a sucker for Dijon. I'm the biggest Dijon lover, supporter. If Dijon has no fans, I am dead. Anyways, this is not about Dijon. I don't know what I'm talking about. Matt Champion's most recent album is actually one of the best albums I have ever heard in my entire life. It is one of my favorites, undoubtedly. It's so freaking good. If you haven't listened to Slug, go listen to it right now because it's so fun. It's so incredible. Vocally, just so good. At the beginning of the song, his voice starts to like break off, and it just, I don't know, something about that. Something about like the rawness of his voice. I love when artists do that. Next on the list, we have 14 Minutes by Dominic Fike. And it is, in fact, 14 minutes. Way too short for my liking. But it's just so good, you can't even complain. It's so good. Next, we have Hit Me Hard and Soft by Billie Eilish, which this is the most recent album that I've listened to because it just came out. And it's so freaking good. Lunch? I could eat that girl for lunch. Guys, oh my god, it's so good. Also, wait, but that's not even my favorite song. That's my second favorite song on that. My first favorite song is Birds of a Feather. And I know that's going off on TikTok right now. I know it's become a trend. I know. But I just love that song. Right before it became a trend, I was like, this is my favorite song ever. And then I saw it becoming a trend and I'm like, yeah, you guys get it. It's just so good. It's so good. I think I might do a cover of that song. We'll see. Anyways, that's the end of my list. I hope you guys enjoyed hearing me talk about movies and albums that I've been loving recently and have been watching and listening to. I really hope that you guys go watch some of these movies if you haven't already, and listen to some of these albums and artists if you haven't already. If you do, please, please, please let me know. I love hearing your guys' opinions on stuff, and especially if it's recommendations from me. I think that's so awesome. If you guys, go out of your way to listen and watch things that I recommend. I think that's so cool and so nice and endearing. So please let me know. I will see you guys in next week's episode. I'm going to be having my first guest on, which is so exciting. And I hope you guys are excited about it. I was very nervous about it, but I was also very excited. So the excitement has just taken over at this point because I've finished editing it. It's ready to go out, and I'm just so excited for people to hear it. And yeah, I'm just so excited. Okay, I will see you next week. Thank you so much for listening.